I am heavy weapons guy. And this is my weapon.
When you think of a passive weapon, one of three weapon types will come to mind. Sniper rifles with their unlimited one-tap potential and high zoom optics for precision, DMRs with their high damage output over range, and then we have the LMGs. These are fully automatic weapons that feature high ammo capacity and increased penetration, making them perfect for laying down suppressive fire and shooting at enemies behind cover, the trade-off here being the slow handling and mobility. There are a few LMGs that deviate from this playstyle, but those are more like assault rifles with additional utility. One of the best examples of a true LMG is none other than the RAAL MG. This weapon takes the core defining aspects that make an LMG and pushes them to the extreme. Thanks to that, the RAAL MG is the best true LMG. Here's why. So this weapon did receive a pretty small but welcome buff this season, which is actually why I decided to make a video on it. The RAAL MG received improvements to both its handling and mobility. Its base ADS time went down by 16 milliseconds and its base movement speed has gone up from 3.62 meters per second to 3.82 meters per second. Given that the RAAL's main drawbacks are the slow mobility and handling, this is a pretty useful buff, as it will no longer be the slowest handling LMG, making it a little bit more flexible. And now we can talk about the weapon itself. I'll mostly be comparing the RAAL MG to the only other 3-tap belt-fed LMG, the PKM. So let's start by comparing their lethality. In the initial damage phase, the RAAL has a very competitive time to kill of 210 milliseconds, identical to the DRH. This is nearly tied with the MG42's 208 milliseconds, but slower than the PKM's 195 milliseconds. The RAAL is also the only LMG that has the ability to 2-tap for an insanely fast time to kill of 105 milliseconds if both shots hit the head. Some of you might be looking at the PKM's faster time to kill and immediately think it's better. But there is a lot more that goes into a weapon than solely the time to kill, as there's another important factor we have to consider, that being the damage multipliers. Within the initial ranges, the RAAL will 3-tap regardless of where he hit on the body, while the PKM requires one upper body shot, which includes the chest and arms. This is still very consistent, but it is in the second damage phase where the difference really starts to show. Within the second damage phase, the PKM will require 2 upper body shots to 3-tap. While this isn't exactly unrealistic, it does mean that it is not uncommon to end up 4-tapping in this range. The RAAL, on the other hand, has a much more generous hitbox, as it features a stomach multiplier. This makes 3-taps much easier to achieve since you don't have to aim quite as high. The RAAL can also guarantee a 3-tap with 1 chest shot, so overall, the RAAL has a much better 3-tap consistency than the PKM. The RAAL also has the advantage in damage range, as its 3-tap range extends all the way up to 40 meters, which is nearly 10 meters longer than the PKM's and covers pretty much every practical sightline in standard multiplayer. So this, combined with a superior 3-tap consistency, means that the RAAL ends up killing faster on average, as while the PKM kills faster on paper, the RAAL achieves its 3-tap time to kill much more often. Since we're on the topic of range, the RAAL also has phenomenal accuracy to make use of its impressive range profile. Its BSA is top tier, being more than enough for any of the practical ranges you can find in standard multiplayer, and its recoil is very easy to control, being mostly vertical with moderate kick, so it's pretty much just pull down. The challenge is not in the recoil itself, rather the fact that you'll run out of screen space before you even come close to running out of ammo. And that leads me to my next point. Since the RAAL is an LMG, that means it comes with LMG perks. Magazine capacity is high at 150 rounds. Given that this is a slower firing LMG that doesn't need as many shots to kill, this means that its kills per mag and spray time are very impressive even for LMG standards. It's not quite as insane as the PKM's 200 rounds, but this is still very good, especially when you compare to other LMGs such as the MG42, which is known for burning through ammo quite quickly. The RAAL also has the highest bullet impact in the entire game at 2. Yeah, this gun deals double the hit flinch, and with a fire rate that is slow enough to bypass the flinch cooldown, each shot is guaranteed to deal that high hit flinch, which makes it very oppressive to play against at range, as enemies who try to challenge you will have a difficult time hitting their shots, as you basically force them to miss unless they have toughness. The RAAL is also the best LMG for wallbangs. If you combine the 150 round belt with FMJ, it becomes one of the very few weapons with 100% penetration, allowing you to 3-tap through any form of cover. The only other LMG that comes close to this is the MG42, but that gun has the downside of being unable to penetrate heavy materials such as metal. The RAAL can punch through these no problem.
Penetration! Looks like that one went right through. That's gotta hurt.
Finally, we have my favorite part of the weapon, the hipfire accuracy. This is one of the most unique aspects of the RAAL MG, as it has the best hipfire spread amongst all LMGs. Some of you might be scratching your heads right now, why should I care about hipfire accuracy on an LMG? Well, the answer is very simple. LMGs generally have a pretty slow ADS time. The RAAL is no exception here, but we'll get to that in a moment. So in more aggressive encounters, most LMGs will be at a sizable disadvantage, as the slow ADS time makes it quite difficult for you to react to the enemy.
But what if you didn't
have the ADS in the first place? The RAAL's hipfire spread, especially on the initial shots, is so good that you can just hipfire in closer ranges or even shoot while ADSing and still be reasonably accurate. This partially mitigates one of the main downsides of the weapon and makes it more flexible as a result. Being an LMG, the RAAL has some downsides that come with the title, mainly the fact that this gun is a big boy. Even after the buff, its mobility is still abysmal, having a sprint speed of 5.28 meters per second, which is only a tiny bit faster than the PKM. You basically won't notice a difference. This is the second slowest weapon in the entire game, and means that swapping to your secondary is non-negotiable if you want to get around the map. Its ADS time is faster than the PKM's but still very slow, at 576 milliseconds. While this is partially compensated by its amazing hipfire accuracy, it is still not accurate enough to handle fights outside of closer ranges. If you aren't already aimed in and the enemy spots you at mid-range, you're pretty much screwed unless you get really lucky with the hipfire spread. So just like with most passive weapons, you have to pre-aim often and focus on holding instead of pushing. The RAAL also has a very slow reload speed, taking a little over 6 seconds to complete for both its tactical and empty reload times, making it the slowest reloading weapon in the entire game, not including the breach loading weapons. So while you can spray for a pretty long time, in the event that you do have to reload, you'll also be out of the game for a pretty long time. For some of you, sleight of hand will be a valid option. Finally, the RAAL has the slowest fire rate in the LMG category at 571 rounds per minute, identical to the DRH. This makes missed shots quite punishing, especially when you compare to guns like the MG42, which fires about twice as fast. So this gun is not quite as suitable for the less accurate players out there. Both the PKM and RAAL MG are very slow handling LMGs that feature phenomenal lethality due to their 3-tap potential, but both weapons do have their own unique advantages. The PKM specializes in spray and pray due to its larger 200 round belt for longer sprays, and a faster fire rate which makes missed shots more forgiving, along with granting it a faster potential time to kill. The RAAL MG on the other hand is much more well-rounded due to its sheer utility. While its time to kill is not quite as fast as the PKM's, it is still very competitive and is much more consistent due to the stronger body multipliers. It also has a longer 3-tap range than the PKM, the ability to 3-tap through any form of penetrable cover, faster ADS time, and a way better hipfire spread, which helps to partially mitigate its weakness in more aggressive encounters. If your goal is to hold down the fire button till the cows come home, the PKM is a fantastic option. But if you're looking for a more utility-heavy weapon, there is no better option than the RAAL MG. This is a weapon that heavily rewards positioning, patience, and map knowledge. However, if you don't like the more conservative playstyle of LMGs in general, then yeah, you won't be enjoying the RAAL very much. When it comes to building the RAAL MG, we have two main builds. The first one focuses on getting all the utility that this weapon provides. Start with the RAAL monocore for range and concealment, FMJ and the 150 round belt for maximum penetration,
That's what she said!
folded stock for mobility and handling, and the snatch foregrip just to make the ADS time a tiny bit faster. Alternatively, you can replace the foregrip for an optic of preference for better visibility. The alternative build is for those who prefer something a little more flexible. Replace FMJ with sleight of hand for faster reload speeds, and the 150 round belt with the stippled grip tape for even faster handling. With this build, your ADS time goes down by quite a bit and you get better mobility on top of that. But you do lose your lethality through Waltz and a third of your ammo pool. The range boosting barrels do look quite tempting, but these are ultimately not worth it. First of all, the RAAL already has god tier 3-tap range, so you'll end up hurting the already slow ADS time for a diminishing return. Second, the range boosting barrels are bugged. For those who don't know, these barrels don't actually boost the bullet speed to the value you see in the comparison page. In fact, the bullet speed buff is actually way lower than they actually state, meaning that you're only getting the range boost which the weapon already doesn't need, and an even slower ADS time. And that covers everything there is to know about the RAAL MG. Before I started using the RAAL, I wasn't really a fan of LMGs in general. They just seem a little too slow for my taste. But after a while of using it, I was instantly hooked. In fact, this has become one of my favorite weapons. I even developed the habit of randomly spraying walls going, I wonder if I can wallbang this. But that's just my experience from using the weapon, so what do you guys think about the RAAL MG? Do you agree that it is a top tier LMG after watching this video? Be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you found the video helpful, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. But until then, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.